All right, we're live. We're coming here as a first podcast slash YouTube video here. Um, my name is Nick. Uh,
Um, I'm Matt.
uh, we're just two MN hunters here. We love the outdoors and we want to start sharing our story on all of our hunts and kind of what we've learned over the years and what we could teach you guys off of our learning and mistakes. Matt, you want to start off?
Well, right now I'm up in northern Minnesota and just started getting into bow hunting this year. I got handed down my dad's old bow, and this is the first time I've actually been able to get out and start using it. I've gone on probably 6 hunts, more a ton of scouting. Spent about a whole week, probably put on about 30 miles walking around looking at new places, just trying to find a new spot. And then just kind of went from there. Found a pretty good spot, pretty close to the house. Don't have to drive too far, just about 20 minutes. And so now we're kind of working from there.
Awesome. Do you so you used a rifle hunt, slug hunt, right?
No, just rifle hunt. Up in northwestern Minnesota, we started kind of all started off a little kind of tradition family with lately it's been myself, my dad, my uncle, and then my cousin as well. But there's been times where we've had eight people in camp. Uh, but slowly the numbers have been dwindling down, and this will be the first year that we actually are not going out rifle hunting. But we are, my dad and myself are trying to get out that way, uh, probably the weekend before rifle opener, just to see if we can knock anything down.
Nice, nice. So my background, I live in southern Minnesota. Uh go to college down here, so I hunt I hunt basically the whole entire state. I go up from Hunt with Matt here and then I go all the way down to south of the cities here. We go it's the farthest spot there, almost Owatonna area. I've hunted deer down there. Uh from public to private land. Uh, started bow hunting back in, oh, I think I was like 15. Was even couldn't even drive yet, and just been years. I took some years off, just got busy with stuff, but now I'm get into it more, and that's what I love to do. I love traveling and hunting.
So what got you into hunting?
Oh, got me into hunting. Probably my grandpa always talked about hunting stories, and then got a bow for Christmas one year. Gave me a bow for Christmas, and that was all she wrote. Got into it, and my first year ever going out, I shot a deer, and that kind of just attracts you even more into wanting to continue hunting. So, and keep the chase up. You always want to go bigger deer the next year and everything. So here we are, quite few years down the road, and just now I'm want to branch out and show everyone our experience and everything. So I think that's hitting on a good spot now.
Yeah, yeah. I got into hunting probably couldn't even tell you exactly when. First time I went, I believe I was 9 years old, and I went and just sat with my dad, just kind of watched him hunt. I didn't do much watching. I spent a lot of time sleeping on the bottom of the stand, but yeah, I went with, and eventually, a couple years later, got to go with him on my first one, and let's say we missed a couple shots, but we
That's
got the kill.
that's
uh,
that's a part of learning how to do it. You got to miss a few to get a few.
yeah, I was lucky enough to get to sit with my dad when he shot his biggest buck. That was a pretty exciting day. It was the day after. It was actually the second time we seen this buck. the first time we saw him, he came running out of the thick stuff, and just was chasing a doe, just they were grunting the whole way. And unfortunately, my dad forgot to readjust his scope after sighting in, so it was maxed out, and the deer was probably only about 30 yards away when it ran past. So he wasn't able to scope it in at all. So, but luckily, the next day, Buck came walking back looking for that doe again, and he was able to drop him in the spot.
That's good. Good. So we'll continue on here. We got where we're gonna go with this. We're gonna. I know Matt, you said you got a camera coming, so we can do a little bit more recording of our hunts and scouting reports and everything, showing kind of when we're out there. And um, I know we're getting apparel kind of lined up, going with that. We got our Instagram and Facebook page. Uh,
And clearly just getting this YouTube started up.
yeah,
Very looking forward to starting to create some stuff. We got a lot of I've had some decent. I wouldn't have minded having a camera. The first couple hunts I went out had a lot of fun experiences. Would have been pretty nice to have one out.
yeah.
Had a
Few
yeah.
misses there.
Oh, only one, just one. We just like two of the evenings we've gone out together. I mean, I've seen basically all the deer.
Yeah, I only have
uh,
one.
yeah, but I've the both afternoons we've gone out, I've consistently seen 3 deer a night, which is pretty decent.
Mhm.
And out of those 6 deer, fed 3 technically in range, I guess.
Technically. So where do you what where do we want to go with this now? Um kind of what we're hoping to do more is being able to film our hunts. I know next year or the year after we're talking about going out and doing a mule deer hunt. Uh we're trying to basically show you guys how different areas of the state hunt. There's a lot of that. I know up there in Duluth, we're hunting a freshly cleared area of woods that the deer are just getting used to. You can tell they're still getting used to that clearing there. Um, and down here in southern Minnesota, hunting basically they have pheasant land and then a cornfield, and you're literally sitting in the only tree possible to sit in, or you're sitting on the ground. Um, and that's the two different, there's big differences from hunting a really wooded area to hunting spot where the deer can see you easily if you do a lot of movement. And I think it's be cool to show you guys how both of our hunting styles and the different hunting styles kind of they can correlate in a lot of ways.
Yep. Yeah, I was definitely agreeing with that. I haven't done much hunting down towards that way. The only hunting I've done down there is probably turkey hunting, and that was still a little bit north of the Twin Cities area. And yeah, I haven't really. I wouldn't mind getting down there for a lot of good stories about big deer, and but also it's like you got to put on a completely different hunting style. So I'm more used to being up in the woods, looking for different transitions, looking for different pinch points and everything, where you're more looking for transition from crop to open field to trees, try to find the bedding areas.
Yeah,
uh
we
yeah,
when we went out and did
definitely.
scouting, we looked for that. It was a lot of you look for in those trees. You're looking for their bedding areas to see where you could get them going in and out of that, or um, even down in southern Minnesota, you're kind of looking for that, but you're also looking for that water source, and that's like a main one up. I would have to say, it's a kind of a bigger one. That water source up there too is. kind of what draws them. They kind of go in between their bedding area and the water source and find an open area to play in for a little bit. We saw them playing out in the open there for a little bit and socialize. And compared to southern Minnesota, we have, you're looking for that transition from when their corn is getting taken out to where they're now pushing into those woods, but kind of staying out in the prairie grass a little bit, as you'd call it, and not really. And then they'll go and they'll sit in that prairie grass and come out into a cut area of it, shorter area of it, where we have. You could be sitting in your stand, or you could be trying to stalk quick, crawling to get the deer, to get a shot at the deer. So
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking forward to kind of building my expertise or whatever, however you want to phrase it, on different styles of hunting. Like I've, like I was saying, I didn't get into bow hunting until this year, so definitely it's a different experience. Just you got to wait for a better shot. You got to wait for a closer opportunity. You got to make sure that it's a lot very different, and I pretty interesting to see different styles of hunting. That's for sure. It's like you go watch a bunch of different videos. You can go. YouTube's been probably a great help for myself, at least. I'm assuming Nick as well. And I would enjoy to do some nice run and gun hunts where you got to crawl through some nasty stuff to get at a decent deer.
yeah, and that's I'm really excited. We're kind of doing. I was doing some research, and we can do mule deer hunt. We can, and we were talking about that would be awesome to either go to North Dakota, South Dakota, or even hit up Montana. I think that would be cool out there and kind of broaden because those are run and gun hunts. You're not really sitting in a deer stand all day. You're out and about. You're walking, scouting at the same time, and you find a group of deer there, and you're out hunting. You know, you don't really get to do that in like southern Minnesota too much. Like you can, it's possible. You come up on a field and you got permission to hunt that field, or it's public land. They're standing out in the prairie there, and well, instead of going to your deer stand, you're gonna crawl out and you're gonna try to get a shot at that deer. And I think I'm more excited for that part. I think that's more. It's kind of a newer it's a little bit more newer tactic, as I would say. And hasn't really, to me, anyways, it's newer tactic. I haven't really. Before it was just, well, you get in the deer stand at the edge of the field and you sit there all night and hope he walks out in front of you. Where now, if you got permission to go on that land, um, you can get lucky and be walking out, and right there he is. I think that's the excitement that I'm really into right now is doing the run and gun hunts. I think they're fun.
Yep. I had a couple experiences this past spring with run and gun. Was out turkey hunting, and just you run into a lot of, especially this past year with everything going on, and there's a lot more people in the woods this year than I've seen ever. And it's just you gotta, if you go to a spot, opening morning we knew there was a turkey roosted about probably 80 yards from where I was set up, and had a car pull up and walk right in right to the turkey, and the turkey flushed out and flew right over to sanctuary across the road. So not much you can do. So we spent 4 days just chasing turkeys, just having a blast. Just uh, looking forward to next year too. Next year sounds like got a plan to go to Nebraska for spring turkey, and hopefully can bring a camera along, let you guys see what's going on down there, because there's some pretty beautiful birds down there.
Yeah, and uh, another thing kind of want to get into too is always it's always good to do some scouting ahead of time. I know Matt's put 30 miles on in that one week. That was a lot. I mean, that is dedication to getting in the woods and kind of finding a good spot, and we had, and find where the deer are. You came up with a couple of good rub spots there, and uh, found some nice bedding areas and everything. And man, I mean, we both use the OnX app. That we can't give enough credit to them. Those guys over there. It is one great app. I recommend that everyone goes out and gets the app. It's a little spendy, you might say, but it's actually well worth it. It's man, I mean, if you look at my map, I got spots everywhere across the state where go hunting.
It's like, unfortunately, we would pull it up, but then we don't want to be giving away our location. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's like he was saying, is like we spend a lot of time looking for trying to find new spots because this is my first time I've been hunting in this area. So, big thing is getting boots on the ground and trying to find a location that's gonna suit you. And just happened, I spent plenty of time looking over this area. It's a huge piece of wildlife management I was able to find. And the funny thing is the one spot we actually came across and decided to hunt and seeing deer consistently at this spot was one spot that I did not look at. I overlooked the spot because it just didn't look right, but just the way other people were parked and way other to access to certain spots that we wanted to get to, we couldn't. So we tried this new spot, and I mean, we didn't get lucky, but we saw enough deer and sign that we liked to where we've been hitting it a couple different times.
Hmm.
I was just in there earlier this morning checking cameras just to see if any got anything new showing up. Had a decent buck show up probably the night after or the day after I put up the camera, but they're still kind of in their pre-rut phase, so not much running around yet. But I think I've seen this particular buck twice now, and so I think we're getting kind of close to his bedding area, can get into his little home zone. So hopefully once rut starts kicking up, he's gonna start moving around a little bit more. Might even have some couple other bucks come running through.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and that's one thing too I want to bring up is like never overlook a spot just because even on X, this spot, it wasn't updated yet. Wasn't quite updated yet. And it got overlooked. And I mean, I think a lot of hunters are overlooking that spot because it's a great spot. And they're overlooking that because it's on the map. It shows it's not
Heavy.
heavy woods. It does not look light at all. There's one spot that looked light on that whole spot, and even after getting in there, that one spot that looked open on that map wasn't actually really that open. I would have to say I
Nope.
would. I hunted a different spot. I had it marked on the map before I even saw it. I was like, it's open all the way up to that point now. I can make it there, and got in there, and it wasn't really that open. It was more a little bit more tricky spot to hunt, but going back on that deer we saw, we I'm pretty excited to get the chance to hopefully get his my hands on him because man, that is a nice looking deer. And we we kind of pinpoint where he's coming in and out. We saw those we had those deers that we had encounters with. They kind of showed us a lot. And that's one thing too is you don't always have to take the first shot at first deer you see because they can always lead you to the bigger one. um I did It's one thing I kind of learned over the years is just because the first deer walks out doesn't mean have to shoot it. It's a long season. We start in September and we end of December, beginning of January. So, you know, yeah, it sucks getting cold and sitting out in the cold, but that's when the deer are more active, and that's when the big boy is gonna screw up and he's gonna peek his head out at the wrong time of day. When the daylight starts getting dimmer, the more they have to move during the day, and they're not going to be really moving during the nighttime because it's cold out. So, I mean, always make sure though, do your prior scouts. I mean, prior scouts are huge. You can look at a map all day long, but as soon as you get out there, the terrain can change. There's, they could have a pop up fire. Never know about. you just see looking at the map, and well, now all the cover's gone. Well, not too many animals are gonna be sticking around there for the time being, and or they come through and they chop down all the trees. I mean, so
Yeah, and that's the one nice thing too is about this kind of clearing that we're hunting. It's not your big widespread just they go through and uh wipe down every tree in the area. They pinpointed certain areas. They probably the widest they went was probably 100 yards, but then kind of did little slivers coming off. So there's not a whole lot of open area. There's still a lot of huntable area in that area, little huntable trees. I was able to find a couple trees that were basically right off, probably 40 yards off the tree line, and was still able to set up and still be able to see across the whole field and see what's moving, where they're moving. Because that's another good thing too is you don't have to go out to hunt. You can go out to scout as well. You can go get up in a tree or sit on the ground overlooking the whole field. You can just watch and see where the deer are coming out to kind of pinpoint where you might want to be getting to on the next hunt.
that's great. That's a great note right there. And, it's not always about going out and knocking down that deer, the first one that walks across. Said a little bit earlier, that's I think a lot of hunters they get into that mindset. I'm going out to kill, and that's that's great. Like fill your freezers. I'm not gonna be the one that ever said I never shot a deer just because I was looking to fill my freezer. I'm not, but that comes with it. You gotta, if you want these bigger deer, it may mean you gotta pass on the little 6 pointer. Let them live for another year. I mean, that's one thing too. You let them pass, and he gets a little bit bigger. But I mean, hunting public land, it's hard to do that just because if you pass on it, in the back of your head that if someone else comes out here and it, that deer walks out, that deer's probably going to get dropped because that's probably someone's biggest deer they've seen on public land. That's just the hard part of getting bigger deer in public land, but that's also the fun about it is you truthfully don't know what's out on public land because like up in the northern part there, up by Matt, it's what is that? You got to say that's probably 100 over. That's a I don't even know like that's a lot of acres there.
Oh, I've looked into it. I'll have to double check, but I want to say it was pushing what was I want to say it was pushing a couple like 25, 30,000 acres of just public land that was
Yeah.
on top of each other, and it's or maybe not that much. Now that I'm looking at it, it's about 4,000 acres of or public land that you're able to access. There's wildlife management area, like I was saying, where that is a lot of people are kind of get discouraged from hunting those areas just since there's no vehicle access. You can't take your vehicles in there. You gotta walk. You gotta find a way to get your deer out. There's a few times when I was scouting, I was walking in 2 miles in just to see if there's any heavier sign just deeper down the trails. Because sometimes you gotta go where others aren't willing to go. You gotta put in the time to figure out what's best for your opportunity to get the chance at finding something you might be able to take a good shot at and really just spend your time scouting. It's one of our probably main things that we like to push is get out. Basically get out, go look at new areas, go find somewhere you want to go. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you come across an area you didn't know was there and
Yeah.
could be your lucky chance. And also never be afraid to throw out a question out there. I
Yeah.
came across this area probably about 20 miles to the west of where I have been looking, and just the area looked really nice. There was a lot of open hay fields, and I shot the person an email just asking like, hey, is I see that it's marked as public online, but when I went and checked it out, it said it was closed to hunting. So I just went ahead and shot that person an email just asking if it was huntable or not, and they did get back to me saying that it wasn't, but it was still, you gotta sometimes put yourself out there just to get access. I know there's a lot of people that go around knocking door to door asking for if they could hunt that area. It's a little more difficult up
Hmm.
in northern Minnesota where every other person's out there hunting. But
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta start making connections. You start early, and sometimes they can last you a lifetime.
Yeah, and that's another thing is don't be afraid. If you find a spot, you're out scouting and you're on X, you're on X or you're searching around and you see a spot next to public land that looks even better than the public land spot. They give you the name of the person that's probably, that's living there. Walk up, be like, hey, they tell you the person. So like say there's not a house on there, it's a field or something. They give you the guy's name, you could probably find him on a quick Google search. I mean, I've done it before. Um, and just go up and ask them, be like, hey, still a spot of land, and just kind of tell them your intentions. Say, I'll even, I mean, I haven't done this, but I know of people that have that said, I'll throw you a couple $100 for letting me hunt, or I'll let you have half of the first deer. And most of the time, people are going to be pretty reasonable unless they have someone else already hunting it, that they'll be like, yeah, you can hunt it. Most farmers enjoy watching people get into hunting. And it really helps that we're a little younger, we can still get into those spots and be like, hey, we're trying to make a YouTube channel. We say, we could say, hey, we're trying to make a YouTube channel, make some videos here. And we saw this as a great opportunity for us to possibly get a deer down and, uh, grow our YouTube channel. And you don't have to say that. You could just say, hey, I'm trying to get into hunting more, and I saw you have some great land. Just getting out and talking. Like, I know most people are afraid to do that. It's a little, especially now times with whole COVID thing. But I mean, it's still worth the try. Um, and getting out and scouting. I mean, I push that a lot just because uh, it's such a key importance on hunting. It's not just, there's kind of three things that go into hunting, as I can tell, is scouting, uh, making sure you're in fit. Make sure you're fit. Like, I mean, you're like Matt was saying, we're walking over 2 miles into our one spot. It's, I mean, there is no way we're dragging deer out of there that off of what's on the ground. All the timber's on the ground still. It's gonna be hard to drag a deer out. So we're probably gonna have to carry it. Gotta be in shape. And third off, have a good shot. That helps too. I mean, always practice, 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 practice. I mean, I'll set up the block in the backyard, put it on, make sure no one's behind it, nothing is behind it, and shoot 20 arrows. Shoot them at all my pins. Just make sure constantly. Go out and shoot. You can even shoot your bow at public land before you go out. You're setting up for an evening hunt. So target out 20, 40, 20, 40, 60 yards, 80 yards. Make sure you're good. Make sure if that deer does walk out there that night that that you can put it down.
It's I can definitely go off that. Just I spent plenty of time signing in, just getting kind of just in the habit of just getting used to going through the motions, because that's a big thing with bow hunting is you want to keep the same motion every shot. You don't want to start mixing something up, because if you start mixing something up, your arrow's gonna go flying a different way than you would really hope it to. Uh, I and then kind of go off on what Nick was saying about kind of just going out and talking to people. I know one of the spots he was looking at is kind of pinned up to private, and there's kind of a little finger of private that kind of goes into the public land, and like you might not even you might just have to ask for permission to walk across their land because you want to get to a certain spot because it might save you about half a mile hike.
Yep.
Uh, and then obviously we're talking about getting a nice clear shot too. Is I'm not gonna lie, I missed a deer. It was basically right at last light, and I was starting to pack up my stuff and had just put the rangefinder away, and here's some twigs snapping, turn around, and there's 3 does walking by, and what I assumed to be 40 yards turned out to be about actually 30 yards. So my shot was lined up like right on, like like horizontally it was lined up, but vertically it went right over the back. But that's one thing too is I do appreciate that it was a clean miss. It wasn't a bad shot. There was no injury to the deer, any problems that could have come to it. I don't think they were spooked too bad because I do have them all 3 together on picture 2 weeks ago, so I'm not too worried about them not being spooked out of that area. I think they are using that area pretty consistently. So yeah, it's like sometimes you can't get the shot off that you'd like, and
Mm-hmm.
you miss. There's plenty of people that miss. There's plenty of people that make a bad shot. Is you just gotta keep on practicing.
Yep. One last thing on what I would touch on too here before we wrap this up is always what I do when I get in the stand is pull my rangefinder out. You know, I still have it on me at all times, even so if a deer does walk out, I'll even if I'm second guessing myself, if it's in between 2 spots that I pre-mark, I'll get in the stand, I'll mark out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 yards. That's what I'll just do that straight off when I get in there. I'll find a tree or a bush or something, and if the deer's in between 2 of them, I might pull it out real quick and just make sure, hey, okay, yep, it's at 45 or 25 yards. But that's another great thing to always work on is to pre-pin out locations. You know, even if you're hunting the same spot, I mean, if you're on private land, you're hunting that same spot over and over and over again. Like we could probably do it up where Matt's on. We can, if you're sitting in the same spot all the time, is you actually get little flags. You put them on a tree or location. You know, you can stick a flag in the ground, um, just to know where all your pins are. You know, you know where the deer location is all the time, so you don't have to guess. Take the guessing game out of the hunting. And that's another thing too is always you never want to be guessing on anything basically because you want to be 100% sure because you know you'd hate to wound a deer and uh you know not find that deer. You know, we always want to find that deer. We don't want to give coyotes the satisfaction of getting a free meal. Um, so
And you want to go ahead and get an ethical kill too.
yep.
You don't want a deer that's living for 12 hours and then dying because the pain that they're going to be going through.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to see that. We want to promote
Crisp,
good and
clean kills.
crisp and clean. We are out. It's not. We're allowed to be doing this. We're given the opportunity to do this. I know a lot of people that don't appreciate animals being harmed in a sense, but it's population control. Is the government wants they don't want to start overrunning, and they're very persistent with what they are wanting from every hunter, and we're gonna go ahead and follow every single one of those rules. Rule book right next to me right now. Like, so sometimes you got to pull it out too, because sometimes you're questioning, you question something. Another thing too is the area we're hunted. We got the phone number and email for the DNR representative for that area. So if we ever need to call him and ask him a question, I know Nick said from experience that you can they answer right away, and if they don't, they'll get back to you pretty quick and
Yep.
be willing to tell you whatever you need to know.
I mean, even if you have like we have the officer's number, um, you know, personally like his cell phone number there. I'm guessing that's what it is for him on duty. But if even they don't answer, you can even look up. You can call the actual DNR headquarters. They will find someone that can answer your question. That is their biggest thing is they'd rather ask questions than have you doing something illegal or getting you know so you're doing something that might get you hurt. That might, another hunter might think you're an animal. They don't want to be reporting to a call where a hunter got shot because
Exactly.
that gives those people that don't want us to have this ability to go out and do what we love to do. That gives them another advantage on shutting us down. So always remember to be safe, respectful, and always just try to follow the laws. I mean, that's the biggest thing is always following the laws and kind of just treating everyone with respect.
Yep.
Anything
That's
else?
I can kind of quick little snippet before you guys will probably once we do kind of get going, you'll be able to see a little bit more of what we're doing. But
Mhm.
personally, I jumped into the new tree saddle craze, so that's what I'll be hunting out of this year. I can already tell you from first couple sits that definitely different little styles, definitely, but it's interesting to say the least. Anyone wondering any questions, go ahead, shoot me a question, I'll answer it. I can't promise you I know it all, but there's also plenty of forums out there, plenty of people that are willing to talk to you about it. Uh, as I had a little mishap earlier, uh, I was climbing down and my climbing stick kicked out from under me and slipped, but luckily the I was tethered up to the tree, so I fell about 6 inches, no damage at all, just a little bit ego hurt a little bit, but that's about it. I personally think it's one of the safest ways to hunt. Uh, and Nick's setting up out of a hang on, so a little pushing slowly. We'll see if we can get him around eventually.
I mean, I always like a good, standing up. I like to stand. And that's my biggest thing is like, there's no, find your style of hunting. I like to stand and hunt. Uh, use a seat every once in a while, but uh, I like to stand and hunt. Matt likes to do the whole hanging out of a tree,
It's you're sitting there swinging. Sometimes I catch myself just swinging from side to side. I'm like, well, probably shouldn't be moving, but
That's
it's
a that's one thing I don't that's what's turning me off is you swing a little bit. I'd probably sit there and swing the whole time, scare every deer away. So uh but we're gonna wrap this one up.
yep,
Go give us a like on Facebook, give us a follow on Instagram. We post about weekly on Instagram right now. It's been kind of slow. We've both been starting new jobs that's kind of been cut into our hunting, but I mean, I've been trying to get out every weekend still and try to sneak out in a day or so, day hunt. But yeah, give us a like, subscribe here on YouTube. Um, just help us grow. We really appreciate it. We're gonna be throwing out some more content and let you guys know when we figure out our whole merch line. I know we got some cool ideas for that, and I think can't wait to get it out and can't wait to keep sharing our experience.
yep. Just thank you again for sticking through this whole video. I know it probably wasn't the best video you've ever seen or best quality, but we're just trying to get started here. We'll get up there. It might take a little bit, but we'll get there.
We will get there. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in. MM Outdoors, checking out.